Hello, welcome back to the channel, and today we are here to speak about something about tactics, and today especially I want to talk about one of the aspects of the game that most of all impact in the outcome of the game, and it's discipline. So morale test, valor and fortitude test during the game. I think that all the people who's watching my video know enough about history that do not need a history lesson about the war during Napoleonic era works and how they will break the morale. So moving straight forward into the game aspect and how this game represents it. It's surely a choice of the gamer designer to have a morale system which, let me say, is quite punitive, but not in bad terms. This punitivity of the game allow quicker game, more quicker than other game system, and is allowed to get even larger battle in an afternoon or in an evening, and this is not a thing to underestimate during this time when people are tired, maybe coming from work, etc. So let me say again that Valor and Fortitude is a mix, a good mix between playability and historical. If you need something more historical, more accurate, probably you need another game, but this one is a very good one. It's fun, is quick to play, easy to learn, but this need to consider something to historically precision, and so we have to cope with this. But if you're here, I suppose that you like this system, so move straight forward about what I want to talk you today. So what we need is to break morale, and if we are the attacker, we need to achieve this quick enough to reach our objective. If we are the defender, we have to hold as long as possible, because it's not possible to avoid casualty, it's not possible to save unlimited time one of our battalion, so we need to hold as long as possible and get the best from our troops. And in the attack, the same is valid for the attacker, which want get the best from his troop and reach the objective. I say that we have to think in two different situations. The first one is a mission, casual mission, with a scenario where we have to get objective, and we point to reach that objective in order to get the point at the end of the game. A very casual one. The other case is a scenario with not objective to achieve, but point to reach, hold in the defense of a village, protect a bridge, take a hill, something like this. Not just a simple token on the field which represents some point at the end of it, because this really changed the approach of the game. In a scenario with a token that grant us victory point is assigned back and forward to control it at the end of the game, and casualty mean in a different way. If you play historical scenario or credible historical scenario, maybe we don't need to get point, but to hold a village and protect it from the entrance of the enemy. So casualty impact in different ways on the outcome of the game, and this means a different approach, especially for the defender rather than the attacker, which just need to get that particular spot of the field. Anyway, there are two ways in this game to break the enemy morale. One is shooting, the other one is melee. And this is quite historical, let me say. What that differ is that is a game of dice, and you cannot put other factor into the equation. So, shooting should be the best way to solve the enemy up. It's hard to break with the shooting only a unit. It is possible, but it's not easy. Other things that you keep in mind is that this disposition, for example, of a French brigade in mixed order with support of some artillery, is very, very theoretically. If you have enough room, enough space, enough time to use this, use it, because it works, as I said in my past video. But not always you have enough time or enough room on the field to deploy in this way. So the first thing to do and to think is how I have to deploy my force to get the better of them. For French, you have to surely take some unit in attack column, because sooner or later you have to crush the enemy line with that. But you also need fire support, so voltigeur, line, légère, etc. If you are the defender, again, this is different, because you have to hold as best as possible, so your line maybe will need some cover, you need some unit to protect from enemy fire. The closest one in open order absorb a huge amount of fire before get their the fortitude, their tenacity limit, and start to test. Even a detachment with a simple 2 of tenacity is hard to get, because they have the casualty. So to put the 2 casualty, you need to hit them 4 times. And my experience is that it's not easy at all. Set aside a very lucky roll. And the other factor is the rally, which is not easy at all to achieve on a 6. Anyway, going in order. Start with the attacker. Have a fire plan. If you need to break this unit, try to put as much fire as possible in this. So sacrifice part of your fire to engage the closest target. It doesn't really matter if you do not cause many casualty on them. In this case, this Jaeger. Shoot at them with one of your unit and focus the rest of the fire into the main target. The other things to think is have a plan for your battle. If you really need to get this spot, you may think to concentrate fire, to invest some point in an artillery battery, in an officer with artillerist, which allow you to use properly your gun in the best way as possible. But if you do not use a trait, even a right deployment of artillery and again a fire plan allow you to put the most of the firepower into your main target. When this is sufficiently beaten, when it is on the verge to test, try to finish them off with a right charge. I saw during my games that many times time is a matter to think how long your game will last. Because again, in a game with token on the field for objective, this have a relative importance. But if you have to dislodge an enemy from a spot, maybe the time is against you. We play for 3 hours. How long, how many times I need to break the enemy resistance and get on the spot? Many times I see that the attacker struggle to get this. And an accurate fire plan and battle plan to strictly follow and then cope with the counter attack or problem during the game that always comes to you is important. You have to start the game with a general plan and try to stay with it, but have some form of countermeasure for what the enemy opposes to you, or for bad activation, bad dice rolls. So essentially, this came in the form of a plan B to achieve the same result. It could be cavalry, it could be a guard brigade, it could be your best melee units ready to strike in a desperate fort, is a flanking maneuver, as whatever you want. You have to make your plan, and is reserve, because probably your first line of attack will end battered and shattered by the defenders. You need to have reserves to put into the breaking point that you want to break. Let me say that defeat, if they came into account at the end of the game, and it happened in the scenario from the perimeters, but happened in most of the scenario, if you want to take them into account, means another things that I regard moral fortitude test. So, have larger brigade to minimize the possibility to get defeat, and have your general closer to the point of attack, again to minimize the defeat. It is a +1. Then when defeat comes, because they comes sooner or later, have reserves to continue to push into your enemy. Morale for the attacker is important, but not essential if they need to reach something again, but is not to underestimate, because if you lose the impetus of your main forces, the tip of the spear, the point that you want to break, used to break the enemy, this could cost you the game, because maybe one turn, two turn of delay means the difference between winning or losing the game. Now coming to the defender, tactic to protect your line is not difficult, but on theory, but not so easy to apply in practice. The first obvious one is to have some unit of Jäger, Leger, Light Brigade in front. Maybe some protection, a fence, a small wall that grant cover to your defending unit, but the best arm is to rotate your battalion. Try to rally. When your line get enough punish, do not wait until it's shaken. Try to rotate. Retire one of your unit and move another one in front of the enemy, and then try to rally them. Rally is a difficult task, because for each casualty you need to roll a 6, and the +1 to this role is only if you are 12 inches away from the enemy. So not easy when the things start to get hot. So say 6. For casualty you need a 6 to reduce by 1. If you are going to play scenario and you are the defender and you really want to stay longer, try to put a trait on your brigade commander or your eye commander is inspiring, which grants a +1 to the rally test, and rally on a 5+ is much better to hold the time for long. But this is good if you are planning a particular scenario and you know that you are the defender and want to take your men in line, or if you want to represent some historical commander which is very inspiring for their troops, etc. It's an opportunity if you use trait. If you don't use trait, again, reserves, because some reserves will help you a lot when your first troop are severely beaten. Retreat and change the front line. Light troops, for the Austrian, for example, the Grenzen, the Jäger, for every army has their light troop. And again, if you are the defender, let me say that you must put pressure to the attacker with your fire, okay, or with your cavalry, or with some spare unit that you can put into the fray to delay as much as possible, to divert fire, to force the enemy to put attention to this destruction too. Because if you simply need to protect a village until the end of the game, in the end you need to have some troops alive into the village to get the victory. For all of this is still valid for battle with token objective, but this is really different in a way that get this objective is not hard as get a single spot, because both of the army need to move, both of the army need to take it, so there is no defense plan because both need to move. So it's more dynamic, is more dice dependent, because a good roll can change the possibility to take that objective from one side. But all in all is quite similar. What I would say, you have to break the defender resistance. The first one to get the objective will become the defender to be break. One of the tools that both sides, but especially the attacker, have to dent the enemy defense is cavalry. Cavalry, especially heavy cavalry, so not this one, is a good tool but difficult one to use it properly. It is very, very, very powerful in this game, because the simpler that if they win, even by a single one point against the defender, they automatically rout the enemy. And now that cavalry can retreat after a melee, means that if they won and are beaten in return, they can retire safely beyond their lines. So cavalry is a really powerful tool, but if you made a mixed brigade, you can have a unit of cavalry into your brigade, and this could be a good idea for the attacker, because it can is part of the brigade. It can retire across its partner unit if you don't do this and you have a separate cavalry brigade, it's difficult to maneuver properly in close spot, because the room to retire, to move, to maneuver is difficult. But not always French, English, or English troops or Austrian. Austrian have a cavalry into their light brigade with the Grenzen, etc. But in the main line, no. So, for example, it's difficult to maneuver, but easy to break at least one or two line of defense, and this means from the defender side that you have to cope with cavalry. And how to cope with cavalry is pretty hard, because if you are in line, it's a real matter of good luck to repel this and win melee. If you are a very strong melee unit such as Grenadier, English Guard, maybe you can have a possibility to win. In my last game, the Guard repelled the French cavalry, but they had shaken at the end of the melee. So a very problematic situation. The best defense against cavalry is to take the square, or for the Austrian the mass. The square means that the cavalry probably will become useless for many times, because if you get the square, cavalry is practically useless unless you roll a 6, and again against the square the horse stay with infantry in that side. And square in this game is not an static unit on the field, because they can move slightly. He lose almost all their shooting power, because they shoot one single die. But the possibility to move 3 inches is not that much, but to move still offer the possibility to them to take some adjustment on the field, and a square is stronger is not the proper word. It's a strong even against an infantry charge, because their defensive position get them 1 die in attack. So charging a line, if not a British line, or charging a square is quite the same for the defender and for the attacker. The odds are the same. Okay, so it's not so punitive, the square. The real thing is to make the square. You have to do this in your turn, and this need to carefully plan this move. But if a strong cavalry asset is in front of you, is quite an outtake to assume this formation on the field to boost your defense. They are in very dangerous spot against infantry, so put some against cavalry. Put a cavalry in the area of the attack, force the light infantry to move away, scurry away, or take some position in a wood that grant them some kind of protection, because they are dead if a cavalry came into them. There is no way that they can survive a cavalry charge. And so that's it essentially, how the morale is important. Another thing to keep in mind is to try to have the larger brigade as possible, both in attack, both in defense, because this means that your start casualty force your fortitude test usually on a 2+. If your overall commander is close to your brigade. So have your commander in the hot spot of the game. do not forgive his ability, and if you play with trait, and let me say is they give much more to the game, in both term of planning and helping your troop on the field. Try to use it at the best. So when you put your troops together, have clear in mind if you want to be the attacker and have an aggressive commander, or to be a defending one and have a strong defensive trait for your commander. And that's essentially everything for the morale. Keep in mind, don't want to be hurry in charging the line. Take your time, but do not waste too many times, because it could be too late. If you are the defender, the two essential key is to rotate and get reserves to put into the fray, and that's it. For some of you this will be obvious, but I hope that this can help the new player of this game, that in this aspect is far different for many others. For example, in Black Powder, if you roll high enough with the dice, your troop will stay an indefinite time, and they will go, because they will go, but maybe after a long time, after many casualty taken. But that's it. This is Valor and Fortitude, in the good and in the bad, but I feel that the good is far much better than the bad. That's it. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you as soon as possible. Bye bye.